Afternoon, YouTube, and it is I, Danielle, better known as Danielle at Medium, and in this video we're going to talk about no fluff in your mediumship. And it is one of the biggest things I see when the newbie medium is starting out. And the reason for it is because they're not quite sure of what is the next step. So when I talk about what is fluff, many of you have probably seen this on demonstrations of mediumship. A particular medium will get a piece of evidence and will work this bit of evidence till there is absolutely nothing left of it. So I have grandfather here. Grandfather was a man who was a very kind man, a very gentle man, a very easygoing man, a man who was always, up for family. A man who was always, a laugh, always a giggle, was always a man who was the centre of attention, always this, always that. Do you see what I'm doing? So what's happening is Grandad is being fluffed, as I call it, within an inch of his life. Instead of just saying, I have grandfather here, and grandfather was a very unique and intelligent individual who was 69 when he passed to the spirit world. What we've done there is we've been able to talk about a little bit about his personality and then a little bit about, and then moved on to the next step. What tends to happen with newbie mediums is they get stuck in what I call the story. And I'm going to be doing a video straight after this one in order to help you understand that a little bit more. What they do is they drain the life out of the story for fear of moving on to the next thing, for it not being wrong. Because here, the person in which that they're giving the communication to about Grandad is going, yeah, and take that, yeah, and take that, yeah, I understand that. But when it comes to actually moving on to the next step, they're fearful of moving on for fear that it may be wrong and therefore they will have nowhere to go. I call this fluffing your messages, or fluff, 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 fluff. And I see it an awful lot actually on demonstrations of mediumship. Not because I'm particularly looking for it, because really what's happened is they've drained everything that's possibly could be talked about this individual's particular evidence, and just haven't moved forward. And if you don't learn in your mediumship to know when it's time to move on to the next bit of the story, you're going to be constantly going round and round and round, fluffing for 10 minutes, half an hour, whatever it may be, with no really detailed bits of information or evidence. What will then happen as well is you're not even listening to the communication. You just have one bit of this evidence, which is grandfather and his personality, and that's it. You just constantly just go and chasing your tail, basically, is the best way I can put it, and just fluffing your evidence. What another bit of fluffing of evidence I see as well. So people will get a particular object, and they will work again this object, so the colour of it, so say it was green, they might say it was a brown outlay, whatever it may be, and they just stay here within the story. And what it doesn't do is it doesn't help you become evidential. It doesn't help you to prove that life continues after death. Fluffing is what I would call it's one of my pet peeves, I've got to be honest with you, when I'm watching mediumship or when I see my students. And my mentorship students, and this is a prime example. Last week I was training, or maybe it's a couple of weeks ago when you get to watch this video, I was in with my mentorship students. And I had warned them the day before, so I see them on a Saturday and a Sunday, like all day. And on the Saturday, I'd said to them that they'd done some bits and pieces of messages for us, and I thought, there's no real great difference here from what I seen 3 or 4 months ago. And that sort of, as a teacher, doesn't irritate me, but I think that I need to see some advancements here. So I'd said to my students, I tell you what it is, tomorrow, which was the Sunday, I want to see evidence with no fluffing. And I says, I mean no fluff, no generalised moving around, this, that and the other. And from that, on the Sunday, I got massive amounts of evidence, pushed with lots of very accurate evidence all because the medium was too frightened to move from the space in which that they sit in. And when I pushed my students, I mean, normally I'm quite gentle with mine, you know, I'm not very mean with them because I don't like to, it's not I don't like to upset them, it's just that I know how hard it is in the industry, but sometimes then I've got to be a little bit more tougher with them. And when I was a little tougher with them and I said, this is the criteria I don't want any fluff here, I want excellent evidence from the spirit world, you've got this, it's in the bag. They produced me some excellent, and I mean excellent, you know, one of my students in particular, she's very, very good, you know, brought me some phenomenal evidence through, you know, something in particular about my son that just nobody would know. And I was really, really, really impressed by that. So you need to make sure you're not fluffing your messages. Make sure that you are moving on in your story. You're not staying here because you're safe, because it makes life easier for you, because you can go round and round and round and round and round and chase your tail, but it's not going to get you any more in your communications. Make sure that once you've given 4 or 5 pieces of evidence in regards to personalities or a particular object or a pattern or whatever, you start to move on. You start to find something else to talk about, because the spirit world know that they've only got 10 minutes on a demonstration of mediumship or 20 minutes to half an hour on a sitting. So there's going to be lots of categories and lots of things that are going to need to be talked about in them very short spaces of windows. And when people say to me, how do you know a good demonstration, Danielle, from a bad? My answer in short to this is fluff. I watch many demonstrating mediums who stay here and will only do maybe 3 or 4 communications on a rostrum. And that can be, I've actually been on a demonstration of mediumship on a special, and the medium's only given 5 communications on an hour and a half's worth of demonstrations. Most hour and a half demonstrations, you're looking to produce 12 messages. That's what you're looking to. Anything between 10 to 15, 12 to 13 is the box standard, but you can broadly range between here. If you're fluffing, you'll be lucky if you even get 7 to 10. If you're doing anywhere good, accurate, or quite, you know, detailed mediumship, you should be aiming for here 10 to 12 to 13. So that's how I tend to know whether or not I'm working with somebody who can hold a full demonstration or somebody who's just going to fluff a demonstration all night. So bear these things in mind when I'm talking to you about mediumship, and making sure that when you're on your open circles or where you're practicing, you're not just going round and round and fluffing the one bit of evidence that you get from the spirit world. I've been Danielle, better known as Danielle, I have medium, and I'll see you all next time.